It was the day I was supposed to drive my girlfriend, Clara, to the airport, and it was also the day we got into a car accident. In the immediate aftermath, my thoughts completely scattered, and a tremor started in my hands that soon spread through my entire body. Clara, however, simply glanced at the time on her watch before calmly flagging down another car that was passing by on the side of the road. Her voice was perfectly level when she spoke to me. "I'm going to go on ahead," she said. "If I don't, I'm going to miss my flight." I could only stand there, watching as the car she'd gotten into pulled away and disappeared down the road. It was in that quiet moment, standing on the side of the road with the wreckage of 2 cars beside me, that I felt a sudden, heavy certainty that our relationship was over. I had only recently gotten my driver's license, so when I offered to take Clara to the airport for her business trip, I was trying to do something nice, something that felt a little heroic. I was being incredibly careful the entire way, my hands gripping the steering wheel tightly, but a car suddenly shot out from a side street, taking me completely by surprise. I didn't have enough time to brake, and my car slammed right into its side. The impact sent a deafening bang through the air that made my head throb with a dull, persistent pain. The driver of the other car, a man around my age, got out and immediately started yelling at me. "Are you blind?" he shouted, his face red with anger. "Don't you watch where you're going?" Before I could even begin to process what had just happened, Clara was already out of the car. The man saw her, and his angry words stopped abruptly. He shut his mouth and pulled out his phone to make a call. Clara took one look at the crumpled fender of my car, her expression as cool and composed as it always was. My own mind, however, was a complete blank. I was trembling from head to toe, and I instinctively looked to her, hoping for some kind of comfort or reassurance. But she didn't even spare me a glance. She just looked down at her watch, then turned and hailed a passing car. As she was getting inside, it was as if she had only just then remembered I was still standing there. She turned back and said calmly, "I'm going to go ahead, or I'll miss my flight." I was left standing there completely alone, watching her car drive away into the distance. It didn't take long for the other driver's girlfriend to arrive. The very first thing she did was pull him behind her, out of the way, and start comforting him, telling him that nothing was more important than him being okay. I looked down at my phone, at the empty chat window between Clara and me, and a sour, indescribable feeling churned in my stomach. When the police finally arrived, they initially determined that the other driver was 100% at fault. The man protested immediately. "What? How is that fair? He's the one who hit me!" At first, the officer ignored his complaints, explaining that I had the right of way because I was proceeding normally on the main road. Seeing this, the man's girlfriend started shouting at me. "So he gets zero blame for this?" She glared at me, looking as if she was ready to fight anyone who had wronged her boyfriend. I felt myself getting pushed into a corner, and in the confusion, someone in the growing crowd stepped hard on my foot. I was outnumbered by their relentless arguing, and in the end, I was the one who had to compromise. They changed the official ruling from the other driver being completely at fault to a 50-50 split, arguing that I had seen his car but failed to brake in time. A crowd was gathering around us, some just watching the drama unfold, others yelling for us to clear the road. I didn't have the energy to fight with them anymore, so I just agreed. By the time I finished dealing with all the insurance paperwork, several hours had passed since Clara had left. She must have landed by now, I thought to myself. I opened our chat on my phone. Sure enough, she had sent me a message about an hour ago. It wasn't a message asking if I was okay or offering any kind of comfort. It was a simple announcement. "I might be back 2 days late. The lab here is having some issues." It wasn't the message I had been hoping to receive, and I couldn't help but feel a wave of disappointment wash over me. I clicked on her profile picture. Her social media feed was mostly empty, except for a few shared articles from scientific journals. Her cover photo, however, was a picture of the two of us from college. It was from my sophomore year. For my birthday that year, she had bought me a camera that I had been wanting for ages. Even though she hated having her picture taken, I managed to convince her to take a few selfies with me. In the photo, she had this cold, obviously annoyed look on her face, and she called me childish afterward for making her do it. But later that day, she made that same photo her cover photo, publicly announcing our relationship to everyone we knew. Back then, I loved to tease her about it. "Wow, you must really, really like me, huh, Clara?" She would deny it every single time. "It's just to keep other guys from hitting on me," she'd say. I'd get all worked up in response. "Would it kill you to just say you like me?" Snapping out of the memory, I managed to cheer myself up a little and replied to her message. "But Clara, tomorrow is our 6-year anniversary." Still no reply from Clara? My best friend, Sam, slid a cold beer across the table to me. I was pulled back to reality and stared at the empty chat window on my phone, trying to sound as casual as possible. "You know how she is. She's busy." "Too busy to even know her boyfriend got bullied on the street? Yeah, right. She's something else," Sam said with a snort. I took a long gulp of beer, and the gloomy feeling in my chest cleared up just a little. Honestly, after venting to you about that crazy couple, I already feel a lot better. Venting aside, I was actually a little envious of their completely biased, us-against-the-world logic. That kind of irrational favoritism and protection was something I had never once experienced from Clara. But I also knew the facts. I was the one who had wanted to drive, and I was the one who got into the accident. I couldn't really blame Clara for what happened today. Still, something felt missing deep down inside me, like a heavy weight in my chest that I couldn't seem to shake. My phone buzzed with a new message. It was Clara. She had finally replied. "I'll do my best to make it back. Is there anything you want me to bring you?" I remembered a bakery she had taken me to on a previous trip. They had these amazing local pastries. I immediately typed out the name of the shop and sent it to her. Clara didn't reply. She was gone again. Maybe I was just exhausted, because I fell asleep while waiting for her to text me back. I jolted awake at the sound of a notification. I grabbed my phone, hoping it was her. It wasn't Clara, just a push notification for an advertisement. Bored, I started scrolling through my phone. A people you may know suggestion on my social media feed caught my eye. It was a post from about an hour ago. I didn't even have to click on the thumbnail to know who it was. I recognized Clara instantly. She was in the photo with her eyes slightly closed and her cheeks flushed. The top 2 buttons of her normally buttoned-up shirt were undone, and she was leaning back on a sofa. There was another guy in the picture, though you could only see about half of his face, as he was the one taking the photo. The caption read, "Been a while since I was back in the States, and I actually got lost. Good thing my old classmate Clara was there to rescue me. It's like as long as she's around, I'll always feel taken care of." I stared at the picture, my mind racing. I had seen him before, in one of Clara's old class photos. His name was Leo. Like Clara, he was 2 years ahead of me in school. By the time I started college, he was already studying abroad. After graduation, he had supposedly found a job and settled down overseas. A wave of panic washed over me, and I instinctively called Clara. She picked up the phone quickly, her voice a little hoarse. "Adam, what's up?" I told her that I missed her. I heard her let out a soft laugh on the other end of the line. "You little glutton. Do you miss me, or do you miss the pastries I'm supposed to bring you?" "Can't it be both?" Clara sighed and agreed, then brought it up herself. Leo is back in the country. Some people from our lab threw him a welcome back thing. I caught the key phrase. It wasn't just Clara welcoming him back alone. But I couldn't stop the thoughts from flooding my mind. Did she rush to the airport, leaving me behind at the scene of an accident, just to go and pick up Leo? Was she out drinking with him during all those hours when she didn't reply to my messages? In the end, I didn't ask. Clara and I grew up together. We had been a couple for 6 years. I believed that we had at least a basic level of trust to have made it this far. The next day, Clara made it back home before 10 p.m. Seeing how exhausted she looked from her trip, I felt a pang of guilt alongside my concern. I knew she was always busy. It was true back in college, and it was true now that she was working. She had high standards for others, and even higher ones for herself. You could say that she had given almost all of her patience and tolerance to me. Clara leaned in and gave me a kiss on the forehead, comforting me softly. I'm sorry. As soon as things at the lab calm down, I'll clear my schedule and spend some time with you. She handed me an elegant-looking box. Anniversary gift. For some reason, I thought about how both of our parents had been pushing us to get married this year. Clara had even mentioned to a mutual friend that she was waiting for a special day to propose. I looked at the square box in her hand. Could it be a watch? I took it and opened it carefully. It was a pair of cufflinks, a pretty generic style, nothing particularly special about them. Clara seemed to notice my disappointment. You don't like them? No, I love them. I love anything you give me, I said, shaking my head and trying to change the subject. Clara, where are my pastries? Clara froze, her expression a little unnatural. You didn't forget, did you? I said, a little hurt. She looked down, gently brushing my messy hair back from my forehead before taking the cufflinks out of the box to put them on me. Next time I'll get you a double portion, okay? She was so close that her lips brushed against my neck, sending a shiver through me. My face felt hot, and I gently pushed her away. Go take a shower first. Clara nuzzled against my ear for a long moment before letting go, her voice husky. Sorry, I got a little carried away. While Clara was in the bathroom, I took a few selfies of the cufflinks from different angles and sent them to Sam. Look what Clara got me. Nice, right? Dude, pathetic. You're way too easy. That's not true. I'm not easy at all. But what could I do? It was Clara. The Clara I'd had a crush on for 10 years, the one I'd always dreamed of. I was still basking in my happiness when the doorbell rang. Leo's face appeared before me, completely unexpected. Hi, is this Clara's place? I blinked, then nodded. Leo didn't ask who I was. He just handed me a file folder. She left this in my car. I thought I'd bring it up. Normally, in a situation like this, I would have politely invited him in for a drink. But right now, I couldn't say a word. My attention was completely fixed on the box of pastries he was holding. Noticing my stare, Leo made a point of explaining. Oh, you like the pastries from this place, too? Before I could answer, he kept talking. I mentioned it had been ages since I'd had authentic Chinese pastries, so she gave them to me. I felt a little bad taking them. When I didn't say anything, his eyes fell on my new cufflinks. He smiled politely. Those look great on you. I was worried you wouldn't like them. I guess great minds think alike. I forced a smile. Is that so? Leo nodded, then glanced at the empty space behind me. Yeah, he said with a smirk. Maybe we have the same taste in women, too. I could feel the blatant challenge in his eyes. He left, the sound of his dress shoes clicking on the floor, each tap a sharp jab at my heart. Only then did I realize it. I couldn't lie to myself anymore. When Clara came out of the bathroom, her skin was still glowing pink, with little drops of water tracing paths down her neck. Any other time, I would have jumped up and wrapped myself around her. But this time, I just sat there quietly on the sofa. "What's wrong?" I pointed to the file folder on the coffee table. "You left your documents in the car." Clara didn't react, just said casually, "Leo must have dropped them off. He's back visiting family and we were heading in the same direction." She explained the situation so naturally, as if she'd anticipated all my worries and had a rational explanation for each one. She always seemed to know me inside and out, but the more she did that, the more it hurt. She knew, and she did it anyway. "You didn't forget to buy the pastries. You just gave them to Leo." Clara showed no sign of embarrassment at being caught. She just explained calmly, "He hasn't been back in years. He asked for a box of pastries as a gift, and I figured it's just a box of pastries, so I gave it to him." I stood up and looked up at her. "Is it really just a box of pastries?" Clara sighed and wrapped her arms around me in a placating hug. "I didn't tell you because I was afraid you'd get angry." I laughed, a bitter, angry sound, and pushed her away forcefully. "If you knew I'd be angry, why did you give them to him? Are you afraid I'll get angry, or are you just guilty?" My outburst finally broke through her composure. Her patience gone, her voice turned icy. "Adam, can you please stop being so dramatic? Is this tiny thing really worth blowing out of proportion?" I shot back. "Then what counts as a big deal? Was it a big deal when you left me at a car crash to go pick up your dear old colleague? Or how about when I was getting chewed out by a stranger, you were out having welcome home drinks with Leo? Is that a big deal?" The more I spoke, the more the unfairness of it all overwhelmed me. Clara just stood there, watching me in silence, like a mature adult watching a childish tantrum. She was waiting for me to calm down so she could lecture me with her flawless logic. And I could never win against her. She always had a perfectly crafted argument to persuade and refute me. Suddenly, I felt so tired. A deep, bone-weary exhaustion rose up from within me. In the silent living room, I heard my own voice, raw and bitter, but filled with a strange resolve, emerge from my throat. "Let's break up." The words hung in the air, and for a second, I was stunned. I was the one ending it. After all, I was the one who had chased after Clara my whole life. All she ever had to do was stand still, and I would come running to her without a second thought. In the 6 years we'd been together, I'd never once mentioned breaking up, not even in our worst fights. So Clara probably thought I was just throwing a tantrum, that I just needed to be placated. She rubbed her temples wearily, then sat down in front of me, her voice softening. "Adam, I didn't know you were so upset that I left yesterday. The accident wasn't serious. I didn't think it was bad enough for me to stay, so I left. Also, you're an adult. I have faith that you can handle a minor thing like that on your own. As for Leo, yes, I went to pick him up. He just got back to the country and got lost because he wasn't familiar with the area. He happened to be near me, so I went to get him. You know the rest. Our entire class from the program got together to celebrate with him. There is absolutely nothing going on between him and me. You can say what you want about me, but I don't want you to misunderstand him. His family had huge expectations for him, and he went through a lot studying abroad all by himself." As Clara spoke, a complex emotion flickered in her eyes. Whether it was sympathy or admiration, I couldn't tell, and I didn't want to know. I just repeated myself. "I'm serious, Clara. Let's break up." Clara couldn't understand. She had explained everything, rushing to the airport after the crash, picking up Leo. She didn't think she'd done anything wrong. The only thing she felt guilty about was hiding the pastry incident. Just because I gave Leo a box of pastries? I didn't answer her. I just took off the cufflinks. "Leo picked these out, didn't he?" "What's wrong with that? We were going the same way, so he helped me pick them out. That's all." I let out a short, sharp laugh, then turned and started packing my things without another word. Clara had bought the apartment outright, and I'd moved in with her after graduation. In 2 years, the place had become filled with my stuff. It wasn't anything valuable, just some pots and pans, pillows, and duvet covers. I went into the bedroom to pack. After I cleared out all of my clothes, the large closet was more than half empty. By the time I had everything packed, it was almost midnight. I dragged my suitcase out into the living room. Clara was sitting on the sofa, her head down, lost in thought. She heard me and stood up. Looking at me, her voice was a cold warning. "Adam, there are no do-overs with me. You're the one who said it, so you better mean it." "Okay," I said. The door clicked shut behind me. It hit me then. Clara and I were over. On our 6-year anniversary. The streets were empty at this hour. I felt a bit desolate, walking alone with my suitcase. My parents were long asleep, and I had no plans to go back to their house anytime soon. I had no idea how to even begin explaining the breakup with Clara to them. Maybe it was my imagination, but I felt a pair of eyes on my back. Of course, I wasn't so conceited as to think it was Clara chasing after me. She'd been put on a pedestal her whole life, and had her own pride and dignity. I once asked her if she would ever break up with me. She said she probably wouldn't. Then I asked what if I wanted to break up with her. She said she would respect my decision. The act of begging someone to stay was the one thing she'd never stoop to. That's why, in our 6 years together, I never brought up breaking up when I was emotional. Because if I said it, it would really be over. My car was still at the repair shop, so I had to bother Sam to come and pick me up. He co-owned a lounge with someone and was still up, so he got there quickly. As he helped me load my suitcase into the trunk of his car, he started cursing. "That witch Clara, letting you walk out alone in the middle of the night. I swear to God, if I see her, I'll break her legs." I couldn't help but laugh at his words. Sam's eyes narrowed suspiciously. "Adam, don't tell me you still feel bad for her. If you do, from now on, we're only talking on Venmo." I found it both funny and sad. Just how pathetic had I been before for Sam to think that? The moment I walked out that door today, I knew there was no future with her. I just don't want my best friend to waste his energy on someone who isn't worth it. Just as I said that, there was a sudden loud noise from the shadows nearby. I looked over. There was nothing there. The first autumn rain came hard and fast. I leaned against the windowsill, watching the gray, misty curtain of rain outside. "Adam, you are not allowed to think about that witch." Sam grabbed my head from behind and started shaking it, as if he could physically dislodge Clara from my brain. I hated to admit it, but I did think about her sometimes. She had been a part of my life for so long. So long that she was present for nearly every important milestone. And she always had this halo around her. The pretty older girl next door, the straight-A student at the top of our grade, my role model. But this person, who seemed as bright and unattainable as the moon, was also the one who would pat my head and comfort me when I bombed a test. "It's okay, Adam. We'll do better next time." When I got in trouble and the teacher called for a parent, she'd show up, pretending to be my older sister. Because of our 2-year age difference, our time together was always fleeting, a year in the same school, and then we'd be separated again. When I was in 7th grade, she was in 9th. When I was a freshman in high school, she was a senior. That adolescent, ambiguous tension made the chemical reaction she sparked in my heart more and more intense. By the time I realized what was happening, she had already taken root in my soul. Maybe time is a good thing. It can plant someone deep in your heart, but it can also make someone fade away, bit by bit, until there's no trace of them left. "Sam, I'm not thinking about her. I'm trying to forget her. Just give me a little more time. After a few days of moping, Sam couldn't stand it anymore. He dragged me out for a late-night run, saying we needed to get some dopamine flowing. Show your emotions who's boss. We jogged along the lake, talking about the past and the future. Okay, that's enough of a workout for today. Tired from the run, Sam announced he was hungry for a late-night snack and dived into a street lined with food joints. I stood waiting for him nearby when I heard someone mention my name. Seriously, Adam was never good enough for you. I looked toward the voice and saw Clara and her group. They must have just finished up at the lab and come out for a bite to eat. I also recognized the person who said I wasn't good enough for Clara. Back when I was worried Clara would be too busy with her experiments to eat, I used to order food for her whole lab, or bring over desserts I'd made. Almost everyone in the lab knew me. They'd always laugh and tease me when they saw me. Hey, Adam, here to see Clara again? Don't worry, we ate your food. We'll all keep an eye on her for you. I thought that was a form of acceptance. Apparently, it wasn't. They all chimed in, one after another. If he hadn't been so damn clingy back then, and if Leo hadn't gone abroad, he never would have gotten to waste years of your life. Exactly. Back in the day, you and Leo were campus legends. We were all so disappointed you two didn't end up together. Now that Leo's back, and Adam's out of the picture, you two can finally pick up where you left off. Don't live with any regrets. Clara frowned and cut them off. What happened with Leo is in the past. Let's not bring it up again. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was enough to silence their table. Leo, sitting beside her, looked a little uncomfortable, but still managed to smooth things over. Yeah, guys, don't play matchmaker. Adam's different from us. He's more of an arts guy, more emotional. He's just having a little fight with Clara. In a few days, he'll come to his senses and be back. Clara looked down and said nothing more. Leo bit his lip, his eyes suddenly turning red as he said in a choked voice, "It's all my fault. If I hadn't insisted on asking for that box of pastries, you two wouldn't have fought. I've just been abroad for so long, and I never got used to the food there. That's why I was shameless enough to ask you for a box. I had no idea it would cause a fight big enough to make you break up." Clara, I'm so sorry. Clara sighed and comforted him softly. It has nothing to do with you. He's just being childish. Sam came back with the food. Adam, what are you staring at? He called out. At the sound of his voice, Clara's head whipped around. The moment our eyes met, I turned away, cutting off her gaze. I grabbed Sam and walked away quickly. Nothing. Just some people who don't matter. Back home, I changed out of my workout clothes and took a quick shower. When I came out, my phone showed several unread messages. I thought it was for work, but when I opened it, I saw it was from Clara, who I hadn't heard from in almost 2 weeks. That was you just now, wasn't it? You heard them, didn't you? They were talking nonsense. Leo and I were never together in the past, and we won't be together now or in the future. Sam had already set out the barbecue and sodas and was calling me over. Hurry up! The movie's about to start. Coming, I yelled back. Then I hit delete and block. Things got progressively busier at work toward the end of the month. One day my boss told me she was getting promoted and transferring to the corporate office. Before she left, she recommended me to the board. So I took her place. I got a promotion. I puffed out my chest and made a grand declaration to Sam. Dinner is on me. Pick any place you want. My treat. Sam got excited and dragged me to his lounge, saying he was going to show me a good time. As soon as we walked into the private room, several beautiful women, each with her own unique charm, were already waiting. Go on. Pick one. Girls like Clara? I can get you a dozen of them here. If you don't like this batch, we can get another. I knew Sam was just worried about me. He'd been trying everything to cheer me up and get my mind off things. I was touched, and I didn't want him to worry anymore, so I just went along with it. They all seem great. Whatever you think. Sam gave me a knowing look and a wink. Okay. All in. Wait, what? Well, whatever. I was already here. After a few drinks, the emotions I'd been suppressing started to surface. I started cursing at the air, calling Clara an asshole. Just as the word left my mouth, my eyes met hers. She was standing at the door of the room, and someone was with her. Leo covered his mouth in shock, a look of disgust on his face. Adam, why are you in a place like this? Hanging out with this kind of shady crowd? His words made everyone in the room turn to stare at him. His eyes flickered, and he shrank back behind Clara. I looked at him and laughed. It's better than hanging out with you. I might catch what you have. What? Leo asked, still playing innocent. I heard a grown man like you can still get lost. Is it because you don't know how to use a smartphone, or is there a genuine intellectual disability? I'm guessing the latter. I mean, even 3-year-olds know how to use phones now. So yeah, I'm scared of catching it. But don't you worry. Modern medicine is amazing. I'm sure they can treat being a moron. That's enough, Clara cut in. Leo's eyes welled up with tears, his voice choked with emotion. Adam, I was just looking out for you. Coming to a place like this is bad for your reputation. Clara has been so worried about you these past few days. You can yell at me all you want, as long as you and Clara can work things out. I shrugged and pointed at my head, gesturing toward him. My well-intentioned suggestion that he seek medical help seemed to have infuriated Clara. Her face was grim as she walked up to me. You're coming home with me, now! I laughed. Clara, we already broke up. I had rarely seen Clara this angry. She fought to control her temper. So you run to a place like this to degrade yourself? I didn't back down. Maybe you're the one with a dirty mind, so you see dirt everywhere you look. I suggest you two turn right on your way out. Don't let the door hit you. Sam came back from the dance floor, saw who was in the room, and let out a string of curses. You bastard, Clara! I wasn't even looking for you, and you show up here asking for a beating. Clara grabbed my arm and tried to drag me out, her voice cold. What kind of friends have you been making? All they do is teach you to drink and swear. With a sharp crack, I smacked her hand away. A red mark instantly bloomed on her pale skin. The noisy room fell silent. Clara stared at her hand, then looked at me in disbelief. I spoke each word clearly, making sure she heard me. Don't you dare say a word about my friends. Maya, Sam's business partner, rushed over with a few security guards in tow. She escorted Clara and Leo out. Sam looked at me with stars in his eyes. That was so hot. I think I want to marry you. Maya choked on her water and started coughing violently. Sam shot her a disgusted look. You okay? Don't die here. Hey, I just saved you, the damsel in distress. Where's my praise? Maya cleared her throat and whined at Sam, looking for a reward. You're a co-owner, aren't you? Talk to me when you've paid me your share of the profits. Maya sidled up to him slyly. No problem. But you have to agree to come home and meet my parents. Are you nuts? I don't even want to see my own parents. Why would I see yours? Get lost. Watching the two of them bicker, I couldn't help but smile. Not long after that day, I found a new apartment closer to my office and moved out of Sam's place. The day I moved, Sam said mournfully, This place is pretty nice, but remember to take care of yourself, and you have to come hang out on weekends. Maya was lounging on the sofa, looking smug. Not bad, right? It took me forever to find it. Sam kicked at her. Yeah, you're so amazing, he said sarcastically. I sighed and put a stop to their childish squabbling. All right, let's go get something to eat. My treat. Nope, make Maya pay. I'll pay. It's not like you can eat me into bankruptcy. That weekend, I went back to my parents' house to pick up a few things. I was also going to finally tell them about Clara and me. I stood at the door for a long time, mentally preparing myself. When I pushed the door open, I was met with the sight of Clara. She was at my house. My mom came out of the kitchen and started complaining the second she saw me. Look who it is! The ungrateful son finally decides to come home. What have you been so busy with? Are you busier than Clara? She's been the one coming over to keep your father and me company every few days. I frowned, about to correct my mom's use of Clara's name. Adam, come help me, Clara suddenly called out. She was assembling a shoe rack. My mom smiled and pushed me toward her, whispering in my ear, Be nice to her. I stood there next to Clara, feeling exasperated. She glanced at me, then looked away. Hand me the wrench. I lowered my voice. What exactly are you trying to do? Clara didn't look up, her tone flat. Your mom asked me to come over. Then she added, You never told them about us, so I didn't explain anything either. Right now, they still don't know that we... I was silent for a moment, then said, You don't have to do this anymore. I came back this time specifically to tell them that we've broken up. At my words, Clara's hand, which was tightening a screw, paused. After a long moment, she answered in a hoarse voice. Okay. Clara finished assembling the shoe rack quickly, but my mom wasn't done with dinner, so she told me to take Clara for a walk and come back later. Downstairs, the complex was mostly empty. Clara walked behind me, as we strolled in silence. I stopped at the entrance of the complex. Clara, not expecting me to stop, bumped into my back, her arms instinctively wrapping around me for a moment. I took a large step to the side, putting distance between us. Don't stay for dinner. You should go. Clara was taken aback, as if she hadn't expected me to be so ruthless in kicking her out. Why? She suddenly asked. It took me a second to process her question. She looked down at me, a flicker of sadness in her eyes, and repeated, Why? Don't you love me anymore? I looked at the person in front of me, the person I once loved so deeply. She was truly beautiful. So beautiful you could almost forgive all her flaws. But, looking back on our time together, it felt like a century ago. I've always known that every decision you make is carefully calculated, just like your lab experiments. It has to be objective, cautious, and rational. Like you said, the car crash wasn't serious, so you chose work and left. Before all this, I kept telling myself it was fine, that I could handle it. But then you showed me something else, again and again. You understood that Leo would get lost after just returning to the country, so you went out of your way to pick him up. You felt sorry for him because he suffered so much studying abroad, so you gave him the pastries I wanted and told me not to misunderstand him. And it hit me. My girlfriend was capable of being this understanding, this considerate, this sympathetic. At this, Clara rushed to explain. I just think he's incredibly talented, but he was forced to go abroad to do a job he didn't even like. I looked up at her. For once, the ever-articulate Clara was flustered. The more she tried to explain, the more she proved my point. Clearly, as smart as she was, she realized it too. Because in the end, all she could say was, I never wanted to break up with you. I smiled and cut her off. I had just gotten my license. It was the first time I was driving you anywhere and my first car accident. When we crashed, my mind was completely blank. I couldn't think. I didn't even know what the first step was after an accident. But you left. My girlfriend just walked away without a second thought. I was left alone to face all of it. I had no idea what to do. The other driver kept yelling at me for hitting him, but he was the one who shot out of nowhere. Even the police report got compromised because it was 2 against 1. Clara, I just want to ask you one thing. When you decided to leave me there, did you even for a single second feel bad for me? Before Leo came back, I had always accepted that Clara was busy and that her work came first. From the moment I fell for her, I had accepted that fact, so most of the time I just had to talk myself into being okay with it. I had no choice. The woman I chose was a busy woman. I should understand her. I had to understand her. But then Leo appeared. There was a control group now. All the details I had ignored became painfully clear, impossible to overlook. I didn't know any of that, Clara said, her eyes red, her voice trembling. It's not that you didn't know. You just didn't care, I said, my voice flat, as if I were telling someone else's story. That's not true. I care. I care about you. I love you. Clara stubbornly shook her head, denying it, and pulled a ring out of her pocket. It was a man's ring with a simple design, but it was beautifully crafted and clearly expensive, gleaming in the setting sun. She took my hand, trying to put it on my finger, and made a solemn promise. Adam, please give me one more chance, okay? I was wrong before. Let me make it up to you. I'll change. I'll never leave you like that again. I pulled my hand from her grasp. It's too late. I already gave you a chance. On our 6-year anniversary, you gave me cufflinks. You gave up the one chance you had to give me a ring. When I think about how I was at home, worried about you, feeling sorry for you, while you were out laughing and shopping with Leo, letting him pick out my anniversary gift, it just makes me sick. Admit it, Clara. You don't love me as much as you think you do. So let's just let each other go. It was strange. I was the one who should have been more upset. So why was Clara the one crying? It was dinner time, and more people were starting to come out into the complex. Many of them were looking our way. I didn't care, but Clara stood there with red eyes, looking like the victim. It was like I was the one who had bullied her. All right, stop the act. Just go. This was embarrassing. Life in my new management position was incredibly busy. So much so that when Leo showed up at my office, it took me a moment to recognize him. He blocked my path and, "We need to talk." "Sorry, I'm busy," I said, holding up a stack of documents. He wouldn't give up and kept pestering me. "I'm begging you. Can you please talk to Clara? She's been working in the lab for days without eating. Something bad is going to happen if she keeps this up." I wasn't surprised. "Oh," I said, offering a suggestion. "She often forgets to eat when she's experimenting. Just buy her some food and remind her to eat it." Leo seemed to glare at me, about to say something else. But I had already signaled for security to escort him out and given instructions to bar him from ever entering any place within my sight. My parents nagged me every day. They couldn't accept that Clara and I had broken up. In their eyes, Clara hadn't committed some unforgivable sin. She could be forgiven. But they couldn't force my hand. I was their son, after all, and the woman I chose would be their daughter-in-law. I finally booked them a spot on a senior tour group just to get some peace and quiet. One day, after returning from a business trip, my assistant gave me her report and then started gossiping. "Mr. Palmer, who was that guy who came looking for you the other day?" I thought for a moment. "Leo? I don't really know him." My assistant nodded and told me that Leo had come by a few more times and had been recognized by one of our clients. Apparently, he had been involved with a married woman overseas, even targeting her child, and had been kicked out by the wife and blacklisted from the entire industry. That's why he had come back to the States to try and start over. The wife also had a lot of business connections here, so now that Leo had been recognized, his career prospects here were probably shot as well. I didn't comment, just felt a sense of irony. I remembered Clara saying he was a very talented person. How did he end up on a path like this? But then again, What did it have to do with me? My phone rang. It was Clara's mom. I hesitated for a moment, then answered. Her parents had always been kind to me, and I respected them. Adam, honey, I know I shouldn't be bothering you, but I don't know who else to call. Can you please come to the hospital? When I got to the hospital, I found out what had happened. Clara, from working without eating, had a tremor in her hand and added the wrong chemical to an experiment. She blew up the lab. The money wasn't the issue. Her family had plenty of it. The problem was that her right hand was permanently damaged. She was banned from working in any lab for life. Her career was completely destroyed. I walked into her hospital room. Clara was lying on the bed, wrapped in bandages. Her eyes fluttered open. When she saw me, a faint smile touched her lips. You came. I nodded and sat down in the chair beside her bed. Clara, stop being so childish. This is all so pointless. Clara looked down at the table next to her bed, where 2 boxes of pastries sat. She said, I promised I'd make it up to you. 2 boxes. I shook my head and refused them. I don't like those pastries anymore. They're too sweet. The light in Clara's eyes dimmed, and she stared at me blankly. You should focus on getting better. Your mom and dad are really worried about you. I have to go now. My girlfriend is here to pick me up. Without waiting for a reaction from the person behind me, I stood up and left. The sun was dipping below the horizon. The last rays of light stretched my shadow long before me. I heard a hoarse voice call my name, but I never once looked back.